All right, welcome. You are looking live in beautiful Northern Virginia. This is another edition of Redskins Relaunch. We are live here in the DMVSTREAM.COM studios. I'm your host, Winston Hilton. Thank you very much for joining us. You can get at me at Sports Talk NC8. There that bad boy is right there. Sports Talk NC8 on Twitter. We got a rookie. We got a rookie in the house. Maybe not a rookie, but somebody brand new to the show. His name is Nick, NY. We're gonna call him Swaggy Nick, or no, I guess you can't really do that. Nick, what's happening, buddy?
We're doing good.
All right, we're gonna put you under the fire. Not really, because this show is really easy. We're just talking Redskins. First off, are you a Redskins fan? Oh, we're good. We're off on the right foot already. Let me guess. Your favorite player on the Redskins right now is? Okay. Oh, boom. I'm glad you led us to that because there's some drama going on with the Redskins right now, and it's concerning Trent Williams. If you have not heard, he is not at the Redskins mandatory minicamp this week. And there is a reason why. At first, it was thought it may have been some kind of financial situation, but it turns out, possibly, reportedly, that he's upset about something totally different. We'll get to that later on in the show. Plus, I was at minicamp today at Redskins Park. It was. Look, most of the time in D.C. in June, you're talking about 95, 90-degree weather here in the DMV. Luckily today, it was mild, figuratively speaking, especially for summer. It was very nice. So, most of the guys out there were out there except for one. Some guys on the side field, doing some rehab work. A lot of the other guys on the practice field, getting some work in before their, I guess, quote unquote, summer break before training camp begins. We'll talk about the quarterback situation, the quarterback battle. You have Case Keenum, you have Dwayne Haskins. It might be right here at this point. It might be right here. Look, it's the first time for both of these guys in this Jay Gruden offense. So you're not going to quite be where, say, I dare to bring this name up, where Kirk Cousins is or was when he was with Jay Gruden after 4 years. It takes a little bit of time for them to learn this offense. So they're probably right about here. They're about neck and neck as far as performance has been concerned in practices. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. And you know what? Hey, look, we're in June. We're 6 days in June. June 1st passed already, and guess who's also still on the team? Josh Norman. We'll talk about that later on in the show. Also, who's been the star of minicamp, OTAs, or what have you? It might be a rookie out of Nick's alma mater. Yes, look, go ahead and punch yourself up because you're pumping up the shirt. Not quite that one. There it is. Look, he's got the JMU on. Shout out to JMU down in Harrisonburg, Virginia. I do have ties to Harrisonburg, Virginia. So Jimmy Moreland looking pretty good. Are there any other stars out there as far as OTAs and minicamp is concerned? Rookie minicamp for that matter as well. Who else has looked good? There are some contenders there. I want to know your thoughts based off of what you've heard and what you've seen or what have you. Also, how much should the Skins pay Brandon Sheriff? Look, his contract is coming up after the end of this season. You're going to want to pay this guy. We don't want to have a debacle like we had with the previous quarterback. We don't want to have a debacle that we're kind of having right now with another offensive lineman. You're going to probably want to get this guy and lock him up. Hashtag IJS. Hashtag I'm just saying. I want your thoughts of, should they pay him top guard money? Should they pay him where he's at? I mean, obviously not where he's at right now because he's a rookie and he's getting a rookie pay scale, but he's going to get a come up. There's no doubt about it. He's a Pro Bowler, a two-time Pro Bowler. He's going to come up at somehow, some way. How much should the Redskins pay him? Also, Jonathan Allen making some news on the NFL Network. He's kissing babies and taking names. How, is not necessarily the question, but because he's a stud. Okay, he's literally becoming the captain of this team, the voice of this team. Not only the voice of the defense, but he's slowly and surely becoming the voice of this team. So he's now on an NFL list. We'll check on that later on in the show. Plus, not as bad as originally thought for Reuben Foster. Also, and this is a question we'll put out on Twitter. I want your thoughts and comments and feedback. When should injured players like Darius Geis and Jordan Reed, when should these guys come back? When do you bring them back? Do you bring them back training camp? Do you bring them back first preseason game, second preseason game, or do you just bring them back Sunday versus the Eagles week 1? What are your thoughts? I mean, we talking about practice, okay? We talking about practice, man. Bring back that old school Iverson video. We talking about practice, not a game, We talk about practice. Also around the NFL, a couple of moves for some defenders in the NFC South. We'll check on that later on in the show. Also, NBA Finals going on tonight. How big was that Game 2 win for Golden State in Toronto? They evened the series. They basically took home court advantage. How big was that win? Also, the Nats. Guess what? They're playing better. Not good enough, though. And the Stanley Cup Finals update, if you even really care. I mean, at this point last year, we were talking about the Caps. They were up, I believe, 2-1 at this point, or maybe 3-1, with Game 5 coming up. I believe it was June 6th. I want to say June 6th, and then the 7th, the whole crazy, everything happening. A year ago today. Oh, man, what a good situation we were in. But let's get started with the Redskins, because that's why we're here. Look, everybody, welcome back. Thank you very much for coming out. We're glad to have you. Now let's get to work. The Redskins back in minicamp. Everyone was there. Josh Norman was there. Cole McCoy was there. Jordan Reed was there. A lot of your players were there except for one player who was not there, and it was Trent Williams. Now, originally when, minicamp started on Monday, okay? And when reporters and everybody did not see him there, what's going on? So all of a sudden there were reports that he was not reporting to camp because he was unhappy with the Redskins. One would assume that it's because it's financially, because when he re-signed his big mega deal, he was the top tackle paid in the league. Well, that was a while ago. So now a couple of other linemen have overtaken him and surpassed him as far as being the top paid tackle in the league. And for the top tackle in the league, you would want to be the top paid tackle in the league, which I think a lot of Redskins fans would agree Trent is a top tackle. Would you agree, Nick? I would say, yeah.
100%.
I would say he's a top tackle in the league. So you would want to get paid as such. So come Tuesday, or I would say, yeah, come Wednesday, Jason LaConfort, and if you punch that up for me, Nick, Jason LaConfort tweeted out that, Trent Williams' issue with the Redskins are not financial at all, according to numerous sources. Not sure what Jason's sources are, but, he has his sources. You always want to hear from the horse's mouth. But he says that he's told teammates he's demanded a trade or his release from the club due to their handling of his recent medical situation. Has vowed not to play for them. Now, look, for Trent, everybody, well, if you have not heard yet, in February he had a growth, quote unquote growth, or a tumor removed from his scalp, from his head, not his brain, but his scalp. And I think that he was upset at the way, obviously he was upset at the way that the Redskins staff diagnosed that. So again, as Jason reported from his teammates telling Jason that he's reported not to play for them again. Would you be mad at that if you had found out, hey, look, what's that thing growing on your head? Oh, that's not a third ear. It's a tumor. Wouldn't you be kind of upset if your doctor did not tell you that? Nick, I'm sure you probably would have an issue with that. I know I would. So Trent has taken exception to that. You don't fault him for that. I guess the problem is, or why a lot of people, listening to radio and people out in the streets, their problem is when he has done this. You want to do this before the draft. You want to do this, at the beginning of free agency so that, if you do want to have that happen, if you do want to leave the team, you give your team options as far as where you can and cannot go. At this point, if you were looking to get Trent Williams, or if you were looking for a guard, you've already signed your tackle. You don't need Trent Williams anymore because you signed some other guy. So why would you do the timing of it is a little bit suspect. Just the timing. I think everything else with Trent's issues are probably they are valid to him because I'm not him. But if he feels as if they are valid, I can't fault the guy for not being happy about the way that the medical staff, the team's medical staff diagnosed him with the tumor. Jay, in fact, said at the press conference today to the media was that he, in fact, wasn't upset. There was not upset, frustration as to the way that situation was handled. So now, per some of his teammates today, they said they had not heard about that. They did not hear that from Trent. So, of course, there are always going to be some, he said, she said things as far as, NBA gossip is concerned. But as it stands right now, bottom line is that Trent is not at minicamp with the Redskins. And he is, as of right now, the only one that is not with the team for the mandatory minicamp. Nick, your thoughts. Do you have any thoughts about Mr. Trent?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting, especially the point you made, just the timing-wise of it. Because, like you said, left tackle is so important in the NFL. If you're not waiting this long to sign yours, if he became available. It's very similar to what they have in Dallas. Tyrone Smith, he's aging very quickly. Philadelphia as well. Peters, their left tackle, but they addressed that the first round, took Andre Dillard, offensive tackle, Washington State. Redskins had a lot of holes they couldn't really necessarily fill. Offensive line, especially you don't know if Trent's going to come back or not. So I would agree completely with you. It's just really the timing of it. And honestly, it's kind of eerie to what we're seeing right now in the NBA with Kawhi Leonard, where he kind of just refused it, and it was based off medical mistrust, and you saw how badly that ended for a great organization like the Spurs, let alone what the Redskins have gone through recently.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good analysis from my man Nick. Swaggy Yor. We got to find you a name, man. We got to get you a name. What do your friends call you? What's your nickname?
They go Nicky Joe because my middle name is Joseph, but I don't.
NJ. Nicky Joe Yor. Joe Yor. I almost like that better. Joe Yor.
Too tall before too because I'm 6'5".
Too tall. Oh, tall man. He can dunk. He's like Matama. I must dunk on you. I must dunk on you. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick little break. We're going to bring in another guest who is also at Redskins Park today. You know him. He's familiar with the show. We'll talk to him later on after this break. We'll also talk about Case and Dwayne Haskins, the battle for quarterback position. We'll talk about Brandon Sheriff. We'll talk about some of the other injuries with the team. We'll talk about that as Redskins Relaunch rolls on for another magnificent Wednesday at this point. You're looking live. This is DMV Stream. Get at us on Facebook right now. A question I pose to everybody. Want to know your thoughts on the Trent Williams saga as far as it's concerned right now. Also, want to know your thoughts on Brandon Sheriff. How much should the Redskins pay him? He's going to get his money because his deal is up after the year. How much should the Redskins pay guard Brandon Sheriff? And then the final question that I had for everybody out there is, what is a good time for injured players like Darius Geis, Jordan Reed? When should the Redskins bring them back and put them in the mix as far as playing? Should it be in training camp? Should it be in the preseason? Or do you just say, you know what, week 1 Eagles, we'll just go ahead and give you a bus ticket or plane ticket at that point, a train ticket. Let's do the train. These guys are not taking the bus. Does anybody take Greyhound anymore? Really and truly, you're probably doing the big bus with the Wi-Fi and everything like that, the dollar bus or whatever it is called. But I don't. Does anybody take Greyhound anymore? I mean, I'm just asking. I'm not saying there's nothing against Greyhound. I'm just asking. Does anybody take Greyhound anymore? I'm wondering. I'm curious. Anyway, Redskins relaunch. We'll be right back. All right, let's go.
This content is brought to you by Dental Associates. For more than 39 years, Dr. Stephen Price has been practicing dentistry in Northern Virginia. A member of the American Dental Association, the Northern Virginia Dental Society, and the Virginia Dental Society, Price is considered an expert in Invisalign and continues to be an award-winning innovator in the industry. This content is brought to you by Dental Associates. For more than 39 years, Dr. Stephen Price has been practicing dentistry in Northern Virginia. A member of the American Dental Association, the Northern Virginia Dental Society, and the Virginia Dental Society, Price is considered an expert in Invisalign and continues to be an award-winning innovator in the industry.
Oh, no, I'm just calling you now. No,
this
you're
content
fine.
is brought to you by Dental Associates. For more than 39 years, Dr. Stephen Price has been practicing dentistry in Northern Virginia. A member of the American Dental Association, the Northern Virginia Dental Society, and the Virginia Dental Society, Price is considered an expert in Invisalign and continues to be an award-winning innovator.
Blake, just count to 10 real quick.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
This content is brought to you by Dental Associates.
8.
All right, you're good. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to let this run one more time, and then we'll be back. I'll count you down.
Yep, anytime.
For more than 39 years, Dr. Stephen Price has been practicing dentistry in Northern Virginia. A member of the American Dental Association, the Northern Virginia Dental Society, and the Virginia Dental Society, Price is considered an expert in Invisalign and continues to be an award-winning innovator in the industry.
And 3, 2, 1.
All right, welcome back to Redskins Relaunch. I'm your host, Winston Hilton. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Again, you are looking live inside the DMVSTREAM.COM studios in lovely Northern Virginia. All right, Redskins Relaunch. We're talking about the Redskins. Redskins mini camp, day 2. Day 1, you know, kind of iffy, sketchy as far as like the one player that was not there. But for the players that were there, you know, they were out in the field. They're performing. Dwayne Haskins looked good. Case Keenum looked good. You could definitely see battle for quarterback there. And joining us on the line right now is a person that has been on the show numerous times. He's a friend to the show. Lake Lewis, Redskins reporter, sportsjourney.com, 2L Media Group. Lake, what's happening, man?
What's going on, fellas? How you doing?
All right, good. We're doing all right, man. Hey, what do you think about the Redskins minicamp thus far? I know that there's a lot of drama. We'll talk about that later, but let's talk about the players that are actually on the field. What have your thoughts been as far as the players that are here in Northern Virginia?
Well, first and foremost, I just want to apologize to the audience because I am in my car and there's a lot of traffic around me. But yeah, you know, it's been up and down. You know, the camp, OTAs, mini camp. You know, a lot of the mainstays are back, and you know, still working themselves back in from injury. For instance, Jordan Reed was out on the auxiliary field today, and you know, so obviously he's not doing any drills with the players, you know, with his teammates. But other than that, you know, I think what we're seeing is what was to be expected. A makeshift offensive line. Obviously, Trent's not there. Brandon Sheriff is back doing drills, but not participating in 7-on-7s or 11-on-11. So, you know, those are your two best offensive linemen. Morgan Moses is out there doing, you know, stuff as well, but it's kind of limited too. So it's just, you know, you're not seeing the true the true offensive line. Chase Roulier as well. You're not seeing much out of him. You know, those are 4 starters from your offensive line last year. So, you know, I think what's to be expected is that the defensive line is going to have their way with a young, you know, offensive line of guys that more than likely won't even be on the roster, you know, come September.
Right.
And they're owning them. I mean, they're absolutely destroying them on every facet of the ball. It's making it hard for Dwayne Haskins as well as Case Keenum to have an adequate pocket to throw out of, and so the timing of the offense has been a little shaky. They've had moments, you know. Case Keenum's had some great deep balls. Dwayne Haskins had a couple nice plays today, especially in the 2-minute drill, hooked up with his former Ohio State teammate Terry McLaurin. So there's moments, don't get me wrong, but by and large, it's been that defensive front just wreaking havoc.
Now, I heard you on Sports Talk on WJLA 24/7, and you said, you go ahead and book it. You think that Haskins is going to start. Do you still feel the same way?
When I said that last week, he looked really good. Veterans are back now, and now you're starting to see a rookie a little bit.
Right.
You're starting to see him struggle at times, but you also see him turn around. Like I said, 2-minute drill, bang, 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 made some really nice throws, and throws that just aren't normal throws. And so then you say, see, that's what I'm talking about. So clearly, it's going to have to come down to training camp. Case Keenum definitely looks like he's more poised and more comfortable. Just the speed of the game, But Dwayne Haskins' physical tools are there. Make no mistake about it. And if he has a good showing in training camp, I think he starts from day one. I do. I don't even think he has to light the world on fire. He just has to look adequate, like he's capable of running a pro offense. And I think things will fall into shape. The problem is he's having to try to do this and prove this without, 3 or 4 his starting offensive linemen, which is going to make life hard for anybody for that matter,
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of the offensive line, I guess we might as well start talking about it now. Trent Williams,
man.
We talked about it in the first segment, originally thought of as a financial situation, but per the tweet today by Jason LaConfort saying that he's, sources telling him that his teammates said that Trent demanded a trade.
Right.
I'm not quite sure because there were a lot of his teammates today that said they had never heard him say anything like that. You were talked to a lot of Redskins players following practice today. What have you heard from them?
Yeah, I haven't heard that, but I definitely know that Trent is not happy, and there's some medical stuff that's going on that he's just not happy about, and the team's gonna have to fix this because it's accurate, it's legit, it's real. There's things that I can't even really go in depth about, but let me just say, this doesn't have anything to do with money.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you can use it as leverage as in anything, but I know Trent, Trent, and one thing about that man is he's prideful. He plays injured. If it was about money, he would not have come back early from some of these injuries he's played with.
Yes.
If it was about money, because he's set for life.
Exactly.
So let's just make sure we get that common sense out the way right there, okay?
Yes.
This is about players and their best player and the face of their franchise. And not just Trent, but several other players that I know I've spoke with. Frontline players, backups, guys who've been injured that did not understand their diagnosis, did not like the way some things were handled. And this is not just this year or last year. This has been as long as I've covered this team. It's been going on. I know, they have a new doctor's come in and she's done okay, and this isn't about her. This isn't throwing her under the bus at all,
Right.
Dr. West. She's got a great track record. She's doctor for the Nationals as well. So this isn't about her. This is about in-house stuff that's already been in there, that she's walked into as well. It is what it is. And this isn't a dirty secret, Winston. You've known this too, that their medical staff has been questionable.
Right. Absolutely.
That's how people look at their medical staff. You mentioned the Redskins medical staff in other circles, other reporters. And we have friends that cover other teams, and they say the same thing. Is it really that bad? Look at the last 2-3 years. The proof is in the pudding, man. You have guys dropping, and they're dropping from the same type of injuries. We're not talking about broken arms, fluke things. We're talking about your legs. You need that in pro football. And guys are, messing up Achilles, blowing knees out in OTAs. Come on.
Yes, absolutely.
So yeah, it's just something. I go on another station tomorrow, Redskins Radio 980. I'll be on there tomorrow,
Yes.
and it's like you say to yourself, how do you approach certain things and say certain things without ruffling feathers? Well, maybe some feathers need to be ruffled here. I mean, you're talking about your product on the field, and we haven't seen their product on the field in 2 years. How many times have we used the word potential? How many times have we used, if we could just see their full core group of players on the field at the same time, maybe this team could do something. We haven't seen it.
I
And
mean,
it's a problem.
don't get me started on conspiracy theory where, the Redskins basically undercut themselves with injuries in order for them to be able to not make the playoffs. As crazy as that may sound, that could,
if that's the case, then everybody needs to be let go. The team needs to be sold if that's the case.
Absolutely.
Because what you're doing is you're basically pushing a pie in the face of a fan base that's historical and was once looked at as the greatest fan base in all of football. Sometimes some people used to say in all of sports. You go back to the 80s, 90s, 70s, 80s, 90s, this fan base was revered around the country. People were trying to duplicate the Redskins fan base as far as, the band at the stadium, the way the stadium rocked, all those things. And I'm sure young people get tired of hearing it all the time, us old-timers talking about it. But if you weren't in that setting and had a chance to witness it, and it wasn't 1 year it was being witnessed, this was a time when this team and this franchise, it wasn't good enough to make the playoffs. You had to go to the Super Bowl.
Yes.
And I say this team had a setup that was eerily similar, in my opinion, to the professionalism of the Patriots. How they just keep plugging away with different players. I mean, you had a coach that won 3 Super Bowls with three different quarterbacks. That's unheard of.
Yeah.
And 2 of those quarterbacks came off the bench.
Yep.
So
yeah.
I'm just saying, it's just it's sad. It really is sad. And you're talking about a guy that you knew was going to retire as a Redskin in Trent Williams. And now this is in jeopardy. Don't get me wrong. The team stood by his side when he went through his suspensions and, the substance abuse stuff like that. They stood by his side, and I get that. And they paid him handsomely. I get that as well. But, when you make players not sure of their medical conditions or make players not sure of how they're going to do stuff, it's just not a good look for you. It really isn't. And I hope Dan Snyder really steps up and does the right thing here. I really do.
I guess to close off this topic is, how do the Redskins rectify the situation? Is it a training staff that needs to be adjusted, or is it the team doctor that needs to be replaced? How can this team regain the trust of not only Trent Williams but the rest of the players there in order to ensure that they know that that they are in good hands with their, not only their health, but literally their career? That's their livelihood.
Of course, and that's a fair thing. And I know guys have told me, a lot of guys like their strength and conditioning coach. A lot of guys like Chad. They like him, Englehart. They like him a lot. And so I don't think that's the issue. Guys have gotten stronger and in better shape. I'll say that. With his strength and conditioning. So I don't think it's that. I think it's a lack of communication in the building, and we know this for a fact, that there's just not. It's not as smoothly oiled as it should be, and it trickles down into the training and the doctors, and so sometimes guys just don't. There's no trust, and you're just not going to put out a good product on the field when you don't have that trust. When you have guys that don't know if they're getting the best thing, and hence, how many times do we see frontline guys not at OTAs or only coming from the mandatory minicamp? And I get, that it's mandatory. It's not mandatory for OTAs. I get that. But I know a lot of those guys used to show up for this stuff until they started getting injured. And they started, it became a problem. And I think it's gotten to a point where some guys are just going to do whatever they can do to find a way to waltz through training camp and get to the regular season. That's what this has come down to. They're just doing whatever they can to escape the rigors of August, heat training and all that stuff, just to get to the season.
Right. I mean,
when they get paid.
Yeah, you're right. Our Nick, let's see, Joe Yor, is one of our rookies here with DMVSTREAM.com pointed out a couple of minutes ago. He said, it's very similar to the Kawhi Leonard situation, or it's turning out to possibly be that way, and hopefully it does not turn out that way where you end up having to let go of a franchise stalwart in such a player like Trent Williams.
Yeah, I mean, it's similar, but it's different in the sense, one, that Kawhi is younger, and it's basketball, so Trent does have some miles on his body, some wear and tear. I mean, he's been Pro Bowler for, God knows, 8-9 years, so, and I understand, from a money standpoint, you want to get that one last big one. I get it, but this is a guy that I have said on numerous occasions, when he gets to his down days as far as a football player, he can be moved inside to a guard spot and still get another check.
Wow. Yeah.
So because he's so athletic and so quick on his feet and he's strong. I mean, he's got a lot of football still in him, believe it or not. And it would be right if it was in a burgundy and gold uniform. That's only right. It's only fair. It's I feel bad for the fan base here, man. I do, because they want so hard to believe in the organization. They really do. It's almost like they have blinders on to really believe in the organization, and that's a testament to their loyalty. For that team. I get it. It's time that the team put out the same type of stuff, and they're not, and it's a fact. It's not. I've been a Jay Gruden supporter for the longest time. I still am. I still think he's the right guy for this job and for this team. But I've always felt like he's never been equipped with everything he needs. He'll never say that.
Right.
But that's how I really look at this, and that's how I feel. And he hasn't been equipped the last 2 years because guys are dropping like flies, and you can't have this happen repeatedly without thinking, okay, something's wrong here. Every team has injuries, but injuries to your top guys all the time. Injuries to guys that you think could be franchise caliber players on both sides of the ball. I mean, come on, man. This is harsh to say this, but it was brought to my attention today. I won't say the gentleman's name, another media guy. The late great Sean Taylor. What was he in Miami for that time, visiting his family? Because he had an issue with something that was diagnosed.
Wow.
And he went down there. I mean, obviously, other stuff, you don't want to put those two together. But the point I'm making is, this has been happening for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, it really has.
Yeah,
It goes back. I remember Malcolm Kelly and the hamstrings and all those things. It's just
Devin Thomas.
Devin Thomas. These aren't guys that were drafted in the 6th round, 7th round. These are your RG3, your first round draft pick. I mean, Josh Doxson was a first round draft pick and has, had an Achilles issue. And he missed some time last year practice-wise because of that. Yeah. So, come on, Winston.
I mean, you look, obviously something needs to change as far as the medical staff is concerned. I mean, the Nationals went through a change a couple of years ago. They brought in some new people after they had a couple of years, a string of injuries to a lot of their top guys. So maybe that. Look, I'm not trying to call for anybody's job because
Yeah, I'm not. You don't want anyone to lose their livelihood. But all I'm saying is something better has to be done.
Absolutely.
It could be the same people to do it better. Maybe they got to look at themselves and do it better.
Yeah.
It's something. We all have to challenge ourselves at times. We all have to look at ourselves and I need to get better at this. I know I do. I got stuff going on now I got to get better at. But I've acknowledged that.
Yes.
So that's my point. This team has to acknowledge they've got to do something better medically. I don't want to hear that you had an outside firm come in and look at the medical staff and, well, what happened with that outside firm? What did they come up with? Did they maybe if you didn't hide all the time, maybe if you didn't have your coach answering questions that he has no business answering,
Yes.
maybe if you don't, parade Doug Williams out to answer questions that he has no business answering, that's for Bruce Allen to do.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Not when you feel like it and you go out and talk to national media, not the people who cover this team every day us. Those are things that this team has to stop doing. They have to stop jerking people around.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Don't come to the Senior Bowl and decide that's the only time I'm going to talk.
Yeah, Mobile, Alabama.
Yeah.
None of us want to go south of Richmond, for God's sakes. I mean, come on, man.
Unless it's Miami or New Orleans.
Oh, yeah. That's not for football, though.
Well, exactly.
That's personal.
Yes, absolutely. All right, look, let's get back to training camp. Before I let you go, out there on the field, I want to know some of your thoughts on a couple of players. Jimmy Moreland.
Oh, man, that's one of my favorites, man. I mean, the guy just has a knack for the football. And I actually mistweeted something earlier. I was coming from the other side of the field, and they were doing some 7-on-7, actually 11-on-11s, and I happened to look up. I was tweeting some stuff, and I wasn't paying attention to one particular play. And when I look up, right in front of me, I just saw Kelvin Harmon, rookie from NC State, going up to make a catch, and he caught it, and then instantaneously the D-back, who I thought was Monte Nicholson, because I just happened to see a 5 flash around that ball. Naturally 35, I thought that was him. Ironically, it was Jimmy Moreland, and it could have been a call. It was a bang. It was one of those calls that Moreland truly felt like he had the interception and had taken it from Harmon. So, and he was talking with the referee who was there for a couple plays after that. Like, I really had that. My point is, the guy's eye for the ball is unbelievable. I mean, he really has the knack to, hence all those interceptions to James Madison. That's not a fluke. He just has a natural tracking of the football, and I think he's going to be a really nice keeper for the Redskins, a nice young player that they can do some things with and grow with.
Right. How about I guess I'm going rookies, heavy on the rookies, because they flashed. They have flashed thus far. Montez Sweat. I mean, we saw him. I mean, he's pretty much been told, look, you're there too fast. Stop hitting the quarterback. What are you going to do with that?
Winston, when I tell you this, I'm not joking. He might be one of their 5-7 fastest players on the team.
Okay.
And I mean that, like, just speed. Boom. He is unreal for that size. I've never seen anything like it. I'm definitely not here. I've never seen anything like it. And the way he's coming around, he's around the quarterback at all times. And today he impressed me even more because he dropped back in coverage and was all over the ball when the ball's in the air. Like, he's where the ball lands.
Right.
And I'm like, this is a big man doing that with just ridiculous long arms, ridiculously long arms. So, man, I mean, I'm saying it right now. The guy has a chance to be in the running for defensive rookie of the year. He really does.
Wow.
And I know this is OTAs and mini camp, and he's not doing this against Trent, and I get that. But if Trent is here, he's only going to make the kid even better because you're going against the best, one of the best.
Yep.
If you go on the other side against Morgan, you're going against one of the best right tackles. So it's going to make his game better. And if you try to go through the middle portion of the field, Brandon Sheriff, Pro Bowler, Chase Roulier is on his way. He's had a really good campaign last year as a center. So that D-line and offensive line are going to help make each other even better. We just hope they're all healthy to do it. That's the big issue.
Yeah, well, that's going to be an ongoing conversation, I guess, for a lot of Redskins fans as well as for us in the media, as well as here on Redskins Relaunch. What to do about the medical staff, what to do with the training, not necessarily the training staff, but the medical staff, because nobody, and I made this point earlier, I said nobody wants to feel as if they're doctors or medical medical technicians are letting them down. And when you all of a sudden end up with a quote unquote growth or tumor and it's misdiagnosed, you feel like you can't trust them anymore. So
Right.
what are you going to do?
That's a fact.
What are you going to do? So, Lake, thank you very much. What is the latest thing that everybody can catch you on sportsjourney.com?
I mean, just, got some things I'll announce probably in a week or so. Some other projects another project that I'm working on that I'm really excited about as well. And, that'll be more of my writing. So that'll be something I'll announce, soon. It's coming. My show, my podcast is coming back, So
yes.
It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff, man. I just got, sometimes you have to sit down and come up with the time to map it all out, But,
absolutely.
But it's all there. We've rebranded Sports Journey with 2L Media Group, and I'm excited about some of the young people we're adding to the group. They're kind of like new faces that new fresh ideas, and I'm all open for that stuff as well. So. Yeah, just keep looking. You'll see, a lot of trying to make it a point to do a stand-up after every practice now. And
yep.
Just posted that 30 minutes ago when I left Redskins Park. So, yeah, I left late. I'll be there tomorrow late as well. So, just keep trying to bring fans, just good Redskins coverage. Hopefully they appreciate it and they like it.
Do you see that type of dedication, Redskins fans? He just left. The players have been gone for 3 or 4 hours. And Lake is still there working. Lake, brother, thank you very much. We'll talk later on, and I'll see you out there possibly tomorrow.
Okay, sounds good, my friend.
All right.
Always.
Thank you very much. All right. That was Lake Lewis of sportsjourney.com, brought to you by 2L Media Group. He's a fan of the show, or a friend of the show, and we thank you very much for joining us tonight on Redskins Relaunch. So, as he just talked about the Trent Williams saga, there has been a history with this medical staff as far as diagnosing and misdiagnosing certain injuries and things like that. And maybe the players don't necessarily trust the medical staff. That could be a thing. And that would lie at the feet of a Sir Bruce Allen. And at that point, Dan Snyder, because when your players don't trust your staff, something has to change, and it has to change quickly. And hopefully, the Redskins can fix that situation and get Trent back on board, because you're going to need this guy. Like I said before in the first segment, timing of this is mad suspect. It's really suspect. You have to get him back on board, because at this point, he is your left tackle. And if he's not your left tackle, who is left? Who's there? Who are you going to have replace Trent Williams if he decides he's vowed not to play for the team anymore? Who plays left tackle? Do you move Moses over there, move Sheriff over to right tackle, and then hopefully somehow, some way come up with a guard out of nowhere, out of thin air with a rookie quarterback? Tough spot, tough timing for the Redskins for all of this to come out. Now, we don't know whether or not this had been, uttered to the administration before now, or if they, Trent just kind of sprung this on them or not. We don't know. I'm sure we will find out. Guys like Lake will be out there asking those questions, but we will definitely find out, and we'll talk about it right here on Redskins Relaunch. All right, well, let's take another quick break. We'll talk about some of the questions that we posed on Facebook. We kind of rephrase this question. The Redskins, Brandon Sheriff, how much did they pay this man? I kind of rephrased it now. Should the Redskins make Brandon Sheriff the league's top paid guard? Should they do that? Question for you out there in Facebook land, Twitter land, or what have you. Also, what are your thoughts on the Trent Williams saga? We want to hear your thoughts. Who's to blame? Why did this happen? And the timing of it all. Do you, agree with Trent? Do you disagree with Trent? Where do you lie with this whole saga? And as well as other injuries, which is something else that we brought up in the first segment. If you're the Redskins, when do you bring along a Darius Geis, a Jordan Reed? Do you start them? Do you play them, 50, 100% in training camp? Do you, or just say, you know what, week 1 against the Eagles, that's your start? We'll see. Answer to those questions coming up right after the break, right here on Redskins Relaunch. I'm your man, Winston Hilton. Get at me on Twitter, Sports Talk, boom, NC8 right there, and on DMVSTREAM.com's Facebook page. That's where we're live. Check it out right now. We'll be right back.
This content is brought to you by Dental Associates. For more than 39 years, Dr. Stephen Price has been practicing dentistry in Northern Virginia. A member of the American Dental Association, the Northern Virginia Dental Society, and the Virginia Dental Society, Price is considered an expert in Invisalign and continues to be an award-winning innovator in the industry. This content is brought to you by Dental Associates. For more than 39 years, Dr. Stephen Price has been practicing dentistry in Northern Virginia. A member of the American Dental Association, the Northern Virginia Dental Society, and the Virginia Dental Society, Price is considered an expert in Invisalign and continues to be an award-winning innovator in the industry. This content is brought to you by Dental Associates. For more than 39 years, Dr. Stephen Price has been practicing dentistry in Northern Virginia. A member of the American Dental Association, the Northern Virginia Dental Society, and the Virginia Dental Society, Price is considered an expert in Invisalign and continues to be an award-winning innovator in the industry.
Mic check 1 2 1 2 2. Coming back from commercial break here on Redskins Relaunch. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us.
This content is brought to you
right
by
up
Dental
after this.
Associates. For more than 39 years,
Price.
Dr. Stephen Price has been practicing dentistry in Northern Virginia. A member of the American Dental Association, the Northern Virginia Dental Society, and the Virginia Dental Society, Price is considered an expert in Invisalign.
All right, welcome back to Redskins Relaunch right here in DMVSTREAM.com studios. Thank you very much for joining us. We are live right now on Facebook. Please get at us on Facebook. We're awaiting your comments. David Hall on Facebook, thank you very much for chiming in, brother. We appreciate you. First off, talking about, he's a new watcher. Thank you again for joining us. Look, we're here Wednesdays at 7:30. We're talking about Redskins. We're talking about DMV sports, whether it be Nats, O's. I guess we don't really talk about the O's.
They're not really worth talking about right now.
Not right now, but I mean, look, I think it was 2014 or 2015 when both the Nats and the Orioles were in the playoffs. I mean, it was big. It was big. So, we can talk about the O's. That's fine. Caps, Wizards, DC United. We'll talk about the Mystics as well. Whatever. Look, if you want to talk about the Loudoun County soccer team or the B team from DC United, we'll talk about that too. Look, XFL is coming to town pretty soon. Pep Hamilton's heading that squad over there. So, look, we're here. We're jack of all trades. We're Renaissance sports people. I guess we got to come up with a word for that. Again, David Hall loves positivity. He's going to the Dolphins game. Hey, look, that's a game to go to. It's in Miami. Can I tag along? Do you have room in your suitcase? If you do, look, I'm no contortionist, but just, pack a big suitcase. I'll pay the luggage fee and just, stick me underneath the plane or whatever. I'll just, bring a bottle of water and some Cheez-Its or something like that. Saying, he likes the stream. So thank you again, Mr. David Hall, for checking us out. Also, DJ Bland, saying, look, they need to pay him his money, lock him down, leave no doubt. Talking about Trent Williams, I assume. So, look, there's one in that camp. Or maybe you were talking about Brandon Sheriff. I would say it's probably Brandon Sheriff. Pay him, lock him down. Now, look, should the Redskins make him the league's top-paid guard? That's the question. Where he stands now, it looks like it's probably about $12.5 to $13 million in order to keep him as far as, guards are concerned. And that's pretty high for guards, per se, in the league. You have Andrew Norwell, Zach Martin. Those guys are making over $13 million, quote unquote, top paid guards in the league. Is Brandon Sheriff at that level of a Zach Martin and Andrew Norwell? If you've heard of those guys, raise your hand. Oh, he has. Nick has. Nick has heard of those two guys. I have too, but I mean, if you're an average football fan, you might not have known who they were. You know who Brandon Sheriff is.
Yes, Martin plays for Dallas. That's why. Play against him twice.
Yeah, he definitely shouldn't be anybody's top paid anybody, just because he's a Cowboy. DJ Bland checking in again. Look, I'm right there with my colleagues, Lake. We all know the Redskins organization has been jerking people around, having healthy players, and should be a top priority. Doctors need to be straightforward and informative. If your family doctor, and this is the point I was making earlier, if your family doctor was misdiagnosing you, you would find a new doctor. They have to make this right and review their processes and change them. Otherwise, players in the building, which is a point that Lake brought up, otherwise, players in the building, along with potential players you would like to sign via free agency in the future, may pass up on you because of this issue, because of your training staff not being able to tell the truth or being able to diagnose you correctly medically. That's disheartening. You could have had a player like, say, Le'Veon Bell. Whether you needed him or not, you might have had a chance to get him, but you would not be able to get him because he would say no to you because your training staff was inept. Not inept, but they were incorrect in several situations. I'm not going to say they're inept because that's just wrong. And I'm not a medical doctor, and I would not be able to say, dude, you got a tumor on your head. I would just be like, dude, there's a big bump on your head. I'm not a doctor, but I did stay at a Holiday Inn. But back to Brandon Sheriff. Look, bottom line is signing him right now, extending him now is going to be a heck of a ton cheaper before before you get to the season, before he hits free agency, because if he hits free agency, he's gone. And this is another homegrown guy that you can lock up now for all intents and purposes for fairly cheap now in the long run. It might look bad now. You might be paying him $13.35 million. But in about 3 or 4 years, that 13.3, the top guard may be making 13.5, 13.6. And then he looks like a bargain. So you want to do that. You want to make sure you sign him up. And that money is going – look, it might not hurt against the cap because guess what? The salary cap is more than likely going to go up anyway. More money. If you remember that Living Color sketch, and I know that's way before your time, Nick, way before your time. You probably weren't even your pops was probably still in middle school. You may have been in middle school, not sure. But yes, if anybody remembers the Living Color, more money. Oh, In Living Color is such an underrated show. One of the better shows, better comedy shows that was out there on Fox. All right. Also, wanted to talk about more injuries. Darius Geis, saw him out there. He wasn't out there practicing, but he was out there, on the side field training and whatnot, as well as Jordan Reed, some of the other guys. Colt McCoy was out there. He was throwing passes. His arm. There's nothing wrong with his arm, that's for sure. He was spinning it out there, just going through some drops and things like that. So, here's my thing. When do you bring back those players? At what time do you bring them back? Do you bring them back in training camp, dog days of summer in Richmond? Do you bring them back, say preseason game number, the third preseason game, which is like the dress rehearsal game? Or do you just say week 1 against the Eagles? You know what, bruh, here's your train ticket. Meet us there. Other than that, you kind of train by yourself. Or, read your playbook. If you don't have this down by whatever. Week 1, you bring them back then. What are your thoughts? I guess, Nick, what do you think? Do you bring back those guys slowly, or do you say, you know what, we got to get you some reps. We got to get you game ready because we don't want you to go out there all of a sudden looking like you're sluggish, slow, playing like molasses.
Yeah, for me, I think it's a great point what you made. Just you have all those different options, and I think it's different for each player. Jordan Reed, I mean, the injuries he's gone through in his career. I mean, I don't know how many people would still be playing after all that he's gone through, especially concussions-wise to the head. And he's such a special player. Offense really is just completely dynamic when he's on the field, or it's a lot more dynamic. So for him, I think he's just so fragile, and he showed that over the years that you're right. Learn the playbook, get your conditioning ready, be in as top physical shape as possible, and then meet us in Philly. You're a game-time player. You're not a practice player. We understand that. You bring that to the field. You're a matchup nightmare for pretty much every team, whether you're out wide or you're in a tight end. And then for Geis, because of the running back position, every hit takes away a down later on in your career. I mean, I make him practice. I make him do everything, but not any contact, because by the end of his career, he's going to have so many hits. He's going to be a workhorse, second-round pick out of LSU, followed up Leonard Fournette. He has all those type of intangibles. And he's really just going to be absorbing contact, meaningless contact in practice. So I get he's a rookie. You want to see him go through stuff with the ones, stuff like that. And I agree with that. Just don't let him get hit.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, for Geis, a guy that's just coming off of an ACL tear, you might want to ACL tear in August. So what is the rehab for that? 10 months. So at this point, he's not even quite back to 100%. He's probably still at about 70%, say. And even for the only exception has been Adrian Peterson, who made it back within that year. The beast, or I'm not going to say he's a beast. That name is reserved for another former Redskin great, but that's the only guy all day has been able to come back from that ACL tear, and not even miss a beat within a year. For Darius Geis, you might want to bring him back slowly. I mean, you do have other options at running back. You have P. Ryan, you have Chris Thompson, you have Adrian Peterson. So at least that way you do have a luxury of having a stable of running backs. But at tight end, you're left with Vernon Davis, who is 9,000 years old, but he looks like he's 20. I mean, really and truly, like if I don't know what his diet is. I know what his workout plan is. It's literally work out 25 hours a day. But I mean, he looks like there are a couple of people out there that are always going to be that way, and he has great genetics where he just looks like he looks like he's chiseled from some type of stone. Good for him. I mean, I wish I could do that, and I probably could if I were in the gym all day, but I got to be here with you guys, and I would rather be nowhere else. DJ Bland says, Nick hit the nail on the head. Protect your players and avoid unnecessary contact. They need all their starting players to have success. Absolutely. So we're going to blow past that last break. We're going to go into our fourth segment, and we're going to talk about, Jonathan Allen. Nick, if you put up that NFL Network Instagram post. Look at that right there. All under 25. And guess who's right there in the middle? Defensive lineman, number 93, Mr. Jonathan Allen. All under 25 team based off of NFL Network. That's kind of big. Like we said in the first segment, he's pretty much becoming the unofficial spokesman and unofficial captain of this team. He's no nonsense type of guy, and something that probably the locker room definitely needs at this point is somebody who's going to be no nonsense and not talk a lot and just go out there and perform and do what they're supposed to do. How does everybody feel about that? All under 25 for Mr. Jonathan Allen. Man, that's great. And now if only we can get Daron Payne on there. If we can get obviously Josh Norman's not 25 anymore, but if we can get a Montez Sweat on there before, I would say halfway before the year is out, if we can get a midseason grade, I want to be able to say the defensive linemen have an A++. Linebackers, if they're at a B, that's great. DBs, with Josh Norman there, you would hope that they're performing. Now, if the defensive line is at an A++, that means the quarterback's not going to have any time, and that means that, some other balls will be up in the air, hopefully some ducks, like Peyton Manning duck, and they get picked off by the DBs. So their grade should be high based off of that defensive lineman grade being high. Let's see. Well, we will see. So similar to what the Redskins did beginning of the year last year. Pressured the quarterback, and they created a lot of turnovers earlier in the year. Those turnovers ceased to exist halfway through the year. Reuben Foster, good news for him. Well, we're on this injury thing. Reuben Foster had his surgery on his ACL, went through surgery just fine. He should be ready to go for 2020, but it came out that Reuben Foster, there was a scare the week before when he got injured. Reports were that there could be nerve damage. No nerve damage. It was just the LCL that was also repaired in that ACL surgery. So he should be ready. Apparently, reportedly, he's already lifting his leg, looking good. So we can, knock on wood. Hopefully, he's back next year. So hopefully that does happen. Now, let's move on to other DMV sports. We might as well, because earlier today, the Nationals swept the White Sox, winning 6-4. Now, there's good and bad in this, okay? The Nats got off to a 4-1 lead, and then Anibal Sanchez pitched good. It allowed one run. Tanner Rainey came in. This kid throws upper 90s, 98. He was clocked at earlier today. He came in, also got outs. And then all of a sudden, Bearclaw comes in. Tyler Bearclaw. Oh, boy. All right, so, oh, man. You're going to pull your hair out. Your hair is going to, you'll literally be as bald as Bruce Willis dealing with this Nationals bullpen. He comes in and gives up a 2-run shot to Jose Abreu. Oh, boy. I mean, he's the only reliever on the team that has come in and not gotten out of a situation. How does that make you feel? You're the only one that has to come in and then get taken out. I mean, technically, I guess all pitchers, get taken out, but he's the only one that will not get, he doesn't make it back to the dugout. He doesn't make it back to the dugout. He always has to leave mid-inning. And then literally after Bearclaw gives up that home run and gets taken out, Wander Suero comes in. First pitch, bam, smack, gone. Game tied, 4-4. Oh, this bullpen is maddening. It's maddening. It is maddening. Now, luckily, and the good news from today, and that really has been the success for the Nationals over this past week and a half, 2 weeks or so, is that, their bullpen has been a little bit stronger. Some guys have come around. Matt Grace has come around. You've had other guys. Rainey has come around. Some of the other guys have come around. But the defense for the Nationals has been sporadic. They've had a couple of errors in their game on Sunday in Cincinnati, on Saturday in Cincinnati, as well as on Tuesday against the White Sox. They've had errors. Shore up the defense. Now, Davey, in the ninth inning, Trey Turner luckily bailed out the Nationals today by hitting a walk-off 2-run home run. So all is well. They ended up sweeping the White Sox in their short 2-game set. This is the first sweep that the Nats have had, I believe, all season long. So, I mean, that's improvement. Hey, look, we're looking for progress. We're looking for things that we can build upon, and that's one thing that you can build upon. DJ Bland checking in saying, oh, man, that's pretty good. So he said Nats equals, and it just says trash emojis. Yeah, you called that one right. You hit the nail on the head, as you said before. That bullpen is, yeah, basically. Basically, bro, bullpen is blankety blank blank, blankety blank 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 blank. But that was the one thing that the Nationals do have to show up. They have to play better defense. After today's game, Davey Martinez said that 3 weeks ago that was a game they would have lost, but luckily Trey Turner ended up hitting that walk-off home run. So, better defense. The pitching has been a little bit better, other than Bearclaw and Suero today. Even Suero has been a little bit better, with the exception of, again, today. But you have to show up that defense, and that bullpen has to – look, you have to make those outs. The Nationals, I will say, are not giving away outs. They're running the bases a lot better. You know, they're not getting picked off as much. Now watch exactly what happens when I say that. Somebody's going to get picked off, and they head to San Diego next. Somebody's going to get picked off base and going to sit there like, dude, really? Really? Victor Robles or Michael A. Taylor? Really, guys? Come on. We got to do better than that. So with the Nationals, if they keep playing this way, at what point do you buy back into them? At what point do you say, yeah, all right, I'll give these guys a shot again? Is it All-Star break or what? You know, at what point do you say, all right, I'm ready to put my Nats hat back on?
For me, I mean, it's starting kind of right now. They won 8 out of the last 10 I saw, and the biggest thing for me is the rest of the division is just not playing well at all. Phillies have lost 5 in a row. Yep. Harper is playing absolutely awful, getting booed in every stadium he goes to, including his own, which is, I mean, that makes the Nats fan happy. But, yeah. I mean, I think just if you can look in June and July and you're still in the race, you actually have meaningful baseball to watch. Because who's watching 162 games every day? I mean, I'll put them on, but I won't watch the whole game. I'll watch a little bit of almost every game, but I can't watch the whole game. So if you can have meaningful baseball to watch, All-Star break, I mean, I'm in there. I'm putting the hat back on.
Okay. All right. That's fair enough. I think All-Star break is pretty much a good telltale sign. A lot of times everybody always goes to the holidays, Memorial Day, July 4th, All-Star break, Labor Day as far as their benchmarks as whereas the team is. And, you know, Memorial Day wasn't necessarily the best of time. It was the start of the new role for the Nationals. But at this point, I think All-Star break is probably that time where you got to say, okay, if you are, let's say, if you're, I would say maybe 2 to 3 games within 500 mark, whether it be below or above, sure, go ahead and put that hat back on. Right now, at this point, they're 5 under 500. 5 games under 500.
And if they sign Kimbrel, I think that would get a lot of people excited. One of the best available relievers, and obviously helps a big need, so that would get me excited at least.
I think it would get a lot of people excited. I would love to see it. I don't know if it is going to happen because here's the situation. I don't think that what's funny is Mark Zuckerman of MassonSports.com always commented. He said, you know, I don't know if the Nats are really going to want to do that because the Nats owners, the learners, don't want to go over the luxury tax. And if you get Kimbrel, you're going to be over the luxury tax. You're going to be over that. So we'll see exactly what happens with that situation. But no doubt the bullpen does need help. Hopefully that comes sooner rather than later. Or if the guys that are in the bullpen now step up and play to their potential, we wouldn't be in this situation, or we wouldn't be having this conversation. All right, NBA Finals. Who do you got? All right, so let's see. Game 1, Toronto blew away the Warriors. Okay, not necessarily blew away, but they definitely played a lot better than the Warriors. Obviously, that time off of the Warriors, definitely you could tell. They were a little bit sluggish, not as crisp with the ball, probably up until the third quarter of Game 2 when when Golden State went on an 18-zip run, outscored Toronto 34-21 in the third quarter, and, you know, they came away with a Game 2 win on the road, evening the series at 1, going back to Golden State for 2 games. So if they do go back to Toronto, they could be going back with a 2-game lead, going up 3-1. Was that a huge game in the series, Mr. Nick?
Yeah, I thought it was an absolutely enormous game. I mean, I've always thought the Warriors were pretty much kind of unbeatable. I mean, with take away Durant, it becomes a little bit more even. And I was surprised as anybody when Toronto won Game 1. I mean, I wasn't going to believe it till I saw it, that anyone could beat the Warriors. I really just think they've become a team that we've never really seen before. And so I was just as surprised. And then you have your chance in Game 2. I felt, you know, you really had a chance to step on their throat. Clay goes out, Durant goes out, or Durant's been out. Looney goes out. I mean, you get the Cousins game, but that's just 10, 10, and 10 pretty much. So I think it was huge that they blew that game. I mean, I think that was really it for them. Golden State I will be shocked if they don't come back 3-1. Obviously, this game's a little iffy with Thompson, but you just saw Thompson and Durant after the game, the way they were just excited. They were talking trash to Drake. It seemed like they were just so excited to get back to the Bay. I mean, they'd done this without Thompson, without Durant, and now you pretty much just have this throwaway game where Curry and Cousins can shoot whatever they want since Thompson and Durant is out. Maybe you win it, maybe you don't, and then you bring both those guys back for game 4 like
Absolutely.
an atomic bomb, and I just don't think Toronto will have anything for that.
I don't see it right now. Really and truly, Kawhi's going to get his points. Yep. We know this. Kyle Lowry, if he can be a pest, so to speak, he's done his job. Van Fleet, Ibaka, Pascal, Siakam. If Siakam can have a half of what, not necessarily half, 3/4 of what he did in game 1, yep. It's a good thing for Toronto. But what it comes down to is going to be that Toronto bench versus the Warrior bench. Guys are going to, all the starters are going to end up getting their points. Curry, he ended up turning it on. Boogie Cousins came up huge in his start, but really and truly it's going to be like guys like Quinn Cook from DeMatha.
Yes,
it's going to be guys like Van Fleet, like I said before. It's going to be guys like Norman Powell. It's going to be guys not like Looney because he's out now indefinitely with a broken
collarbone,
broken bone in his chest. That's the official medical term. I do play a doctor on TV. It comes down to the benches, the battle of the benches, and whether or not whichever bench could win their matchup is probably going to end up taking games 3 and 4. Now it helps that Golden State's playing at home, in Oracle. All my Oakland fans stand up. I'm sure I got maybe 1 or 2. I doubt it, but either way, it does look good for the Warriors going back home, with the series tied. Stanley Cup Finals. One update, Zdeno Chara, probably more than likely out, reportedly with a broken jaw. The series is tied 2-2, St. Louis. In the same boat the Caps were in last year. One of the oldest franchises to not win the Stanley Cup. And they're at this point, it's a 50-50, a best of three game series at this point with Game 5 in Boston. So, we'll see if Lightning can strike twice as far as the Stanley Cup is concerned, going to first-time winners. I don't know if you have friends in St. Louis area, but I do, and for them, I hope they do win. It's not that I don't like Boston, but dude, you just had a championship 100 days ago. Exactly. Get over yourselves. Like, really, no, seriously, get over yourselves. Come on, you've got it already.
I agree. St. Louis seems a lot of the vibe we had last year. A lot of watch parties out there in the city, so I'm definitely what I'm rooting for. Yeah,
I think a lot of people are rooting for St. Louis. Sorry, Boston, but like I said, the country's tired of you.
Exactly.
If you pull up one of those maps, you see like everybody else everybody else blue, and then Boston in red. Massachusetts, maybe New England area, a small part of New England area. Because I'm pretty certain, like the Connecticut area, they might not like the Bruins. You never know. All right, DJ Bland checking in on the NBA. If the Raptors don't get this win tonight, the series could be lost for them. I mean, at this point, yes, they need to respond to Game 2 and get that home court advantage back. So we'll see exactly what happens with that. All right, let's wrap up the show with Redskins. Minicamp continues tomorrow. Then OTAs are next week. Organized team activities, not mandatory, but tomorrow is mandatory. So we'll see exactly what happens. But, and then the Redskins go on break until training camp in late July. We shall see what happens with the Trent Williams saga. I'm sure reports will be coming out about what has and has not been said and what Trent actually wants to do. Trent, if you want to come on here and spill your guts, by all means, my phone number is always here. You know how to get at me. We're here to lend that ear. What kind of is upsetting is that all over, media today, people were trashing Trent for, again, wanting more money or this, that, and the other. They were questioning his motives. And I don't know if you can necessarily fault somebody that who feels as if, now if you go the financial route, who feels as if he's the best tackle in the league, pay him the best tackle money. Yes, he has not lived out his contract, and it's part of negotiations. You can come together and figure out some type of way to come to an agreement where everybody wins. Incentivize that contract where he can, if he plays 90% of his games, he gets an added year to the contract. Something that, ensures him that, I feel good. They feel it's basically negotiating in good faith. As for and Colvin Underwood checking in, drama is the Skins' best thing they do. Crazy day. Absolutely. I saw Colvin out there at minicamp today. Now, as far as the medical concerns with Trent and the Redskins, if you're a person that feels as if you don't trust the medical staff, why do you come back? So, look, there are arguments and points on both sides as far as the financial thing is concerned, but there should not be any question as far as, or any side you would take as far as the medical staff is concerned, or medical conditions are concerned. If you are misdiagnosing people, whether it be on purpose or by accident, which either way is not good, that's a problem. So hopefully the Redskins can rectify that situation and regain the trust of players like Trent and, as Lake said, some of the other players that he has talked to over the past week or months, for that matter. All right. That'll do it for us for Redskins Relaunch. I'd like to thank everybody for checking in tonight. DJ Bland, David Hall, Colvin Underwood, Carl Rogers, I see you joined and are checking in. Thank you very much for watching. For those that did check us out on Facebook, we thank you. Again, leave your comments and suggestions on the DMVSTREAM.com Facebook page or on DMVSTREAM.com. You could get at me, boom, on the Twitter, Sports Talk, NC8, or on my Facebook page. Then it's right there. Look at that, right there, Winston Hilton. Just get at us on Facebook. We would love to hear from you, so we can talk bad about you in the next Redskins relaunch. We're gonna joke your comments because that's just what I like to do. That's just I like DJ with the Nets and the trash emoji. Like that's funny. That's good. We want to hear more of that. We want to get more of your comments and suggestions. And with that, if you would like to see any episode of Redskins Relaunch, you can catch it on DMVStream.com. All archive episodes are up on the website. Catch us there. Again, leave your comments and suggestions on Facebook page, DMVStream.com's Facebook page, or on Twitter at DMVStream.com, or on my Twitter, Sports Talk NC8, and Winston Hilton at Facebook. So for my man Nick, how was Under the Fire tonight? You did a fantastic job, by the way.
I really appreciate it, and it's a good learning experience, fun show. Can't wait to do it next week.
All right, well, with that said, I can't wait to do it next week, too, because we'll talk about OTAs. We'll talk about minicamp. Hopefully, we'll have an update on Trent Williams. Hopefully, the Nationals will be, 28-0 over the next 7 days. That'd be great. That put them about 20 games over 500. We would accept that. I'm sure Davey Martinez would as well. Look at that. I was trashing Davey the past week. Now I can't really do that. It's not as much fun, but that's all right. That's all right. So with that said, we'd like to thank everybody for watching, and we bid you adieu. Thank you very much. Redskins Relaunch. Peace.